as you can see behind me, I'm decorating for a party. It's my friend's Harry Styles themed 21st birthday party. It's very tea. We have streamers, and this is Harry Styles' face. It says Happy Bee, we lost the Earth Day. So I was going to make a joke about Earth Day. Anyway, we're going to be continuing our part 2 reading of Lesbian, MasterDoc. I did want to put a disclaimer. Somebody commented and said that this document is kind of inherently biphobic because a lot of the things mentioned on here can also apply to bisexual women. It says it's not, like meant to cause harm, but it can, or misinformation. But I just wanted to put that out there. And I do kind of see that now, like looking back, I was like, yeah, you know what? That's fucking true. Excuse my language. I'm gonna take a little sip. I got a new Walla. She's diva. I just got done taking my final. Literally walked in and I was like, I'm making an ASMR video. Also, my nails chopped. Why are these ones? Why are they missing? Week and a half. So I don't know if I'm gonna redo them or just go naked nails. I don't know. I need to take a breath. So we're gonna start with early interest in women. Not recognizing past current crushes on women until you come to grapes with your attraction to women. Being unusually competitive, shy, or eager to impress specific women when you're not that way with anyone else. Wanting to kiss your female best friend on the mouth for literally any reason, to practice for boys included. Getting butterflies or feeling like you can't get close enough when cuddling with a close female friend. Looking at a close female friend and feeling like something in your chest clench up and being overwhelmed with love for her. Love you may read as platonic. Having had strong and abiding feelings of admiration for a specific female teacher, actor, etc. growing up that were deep and reverent. Having had an unusually close relationship with a female friend growing up that was different and special in a way you couldn't articulate. Thinking relationships would be simpler if only I were attracted to women. My best friend, who would be perfect for me if I weren't a girl. When a female friend is treated badly by a man, having your protective thoughts turn in the direction of, if I was him / a man, I'd never do that to her / my girlfriend. Being utterly fascinated by any lesbians you know, see in media, and thinking they're all ultra cool people. Having your favorite character in every show be the gay-coded or butch-looking woman like Shego from Kim Possible or Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica. Feeling weirdly guilty and uncomfortable in locker rooms, etc. when your female friends are less clothed than they normally would be around men, and being more careful not to look that they are. That was probably a lot, that cough. I'm so sorry. You're supposed to be relaxing. The straight version of you. Thinking that all straight girls feel at least some attraction to women. Thinking that your interest in seeing attractive women, scantily clad women, boobs, is an artificial reaction caused by the objectification of women in media. Being really into how women look aesthetically, just as artistic interest. Thinking it's objective and uncontested that almost all women are way more attractive than most men. Low-key, yeah. What? Like, yes. Yes. Being a really intense LGBT plus ally and getting weirdly emotional about homophobia, but assuming you're just a really good ally and very empathetic. Having like half your friend group from school turn out to be LGBT plus. Getting emotional or having a strong reaction you don't understand to express interest in watching or joining in when you do that. Only feeling and expressing attraction to or sexual interest in women when you are inebriated or otherwise impaired. Seeing a relationship between two women elicits a much stronger and more real emotional reaction than het relationships ever do. You get anxiety around men and feel more comfortable in settings with women. You have a very high standards for men you might date and comparatively lower standards when it comes to women. Being mistaken for a couple with one of your girlfriends is exciting for you, and being mistaken for a couple with one of your guy friends elicits no reaction or feels weird or wrong. None of your girlfriend's partners are ever good enough for them, and you take it very personally, and you don't feel the same way about the men you're friends with. Gender feelings. Having a lot of conflicting gender feelings that are only possible to resolve once you understand you are/can be a lesbian. Thinking that being GNC and feeling a disconnect from traditional womanhood means you can't be a woman even if that's what feels closest to right. Many lesbians are GNC and many lesbians feel disconnected from traditional womanhood since it's so bound up in hetero patriarchy. Knowing you're attracted to women and not being able to parse that, especially plus any gender nonconformance as gay. Taking a long time to figure out if you're straight man or a lesbian. Being dysphoric about the parts of you that make straight men think your body is owned to them, having to figure out what dysphoria means for/to you. Knowing you're attracted to women but feeling weirdly guilty and uncomfortable trying to interact with them as a straight man and only realizing you're actually a trans lesbian. Knowing you're gay but experiencing a lot of the symptoms of combat when you try to interact with men romantically, sexually, and only later realizing you're a trans lesbian, not a gay man. Being non-binary and taking a long time to sort through being able to respect and understand your non-binary identity and your lesbianness at the same time. Considering lesbianism, wanting to be a lesbian but feeling like if you don't already know you're one, you can't be, yeah. Feeling guilty about wanting to be a lesbian, feeling like you're just attention seeking or trying to be trendy, yeah. You think or fear that you might be a lesbian and you find yourself somewhat constantly, desperately trying to prove to yourself that you're not, yeah. Suppressing your lesbian dreams because you think exploring that desire would mean you're a bad homophobic person using lesbianness selfishly, wishing you were a lesbian to escape the discomfort of dating men, yeah. Fantasizing about how much fun it would be to be a lesbian and just be with women/a specific woman, but thinking that can't be for you. Worrying that some of your past attraction to men was actually real, so you can't be a lesbian, yeah. Worrying that because you can't be 100% sure you're not attracted to men and can't be 100% sure you won't change your mind, you can't be a lesbian. Worrying that you only want to be a lesbian because of the trauma, and that means your lesbianness will be fake. Worrying that trauma-induced complications in how you experience sex, e.g., a habit of self-harming via sex with men or a fear of any sex at all, mean you're not a real lesbian. Wow. That one was crazy. Like, whoa. A habit of self-harming via sex with men. Attraction versus compulsory heterosexuality. Nervousness and blushing. A ton of romance media and common cultural tropes have this idea that you know you're attracted to someone if you're nervous or blushing around them. Because of this, you might feel like you must be attracted to a man if you feel nervous around him, just because you're experiencing the physical bodily response you've been told to expect, not because you actually want to date him. Actual attraction. You're nervous because you're excited to get to know someone. You find them attractive first, and because you're thinking about your attraction to them, you get self-conscious because you hope they might like you too. Compulsory heterosexuality. You're nervous because you are aware that he is attracted to you, and because he's paying such close attention to you, especially if he's pushing boundaries or getting too close into your personal space. You become self-conscious because you know he's watching you. You blush because you're uncomfortable. Hypothetical attraction. Many questioning women have a hard time sorting through their attraction because of hypotheticals. Our culture in general disregards or challenges WLW's attraction, and it gives this anxiety that we know 100% that we are not and will never be attracted to men no matter what in order to claim labels. It's hard to do that as a young person who is just learning about themselves, flooded with what ifs about the future. Because of this, you might feel like you can't rule out being attracted to men because you might hypothetically be attracted to one someday. Who knows? Actual attraction. You imagine a hypothetical future where you end up with a man and it feels exciting, it makes you feel good and hopeful and happy and right. It's a nice feeling and is comfortable to think about. sexual fantasies. Our culture places a big emphasis on sex when it comes to orientation. Some people's orientation includes sexual attraction, and some people's orientation doesn't. But most of us feel like our sexual fantasies are the most important indicator of non-straight sexuality because LGBT people have been so thoroughly reduced to sexual acts and sexual objects in the homophobic culture we've grown up in. Along with that, we've also grown up in a heteronormative and cis-normative society that repeatedly teaches and re-emphasizes the same singular sexual script for how sex is supposed to go over and over and over. They do not teach any others, and it requires a non-straight and nonsense people to invent their own sexual scripts individually and with partners. But as a young person, when you're aroused, your mind has a very limited template of potential narratives associated with that feeling. So many people default to the same heteronormative script in their fantasies because it's unconscious and easy. Because of this, you might feel like you must be attracted to men because you imagine abstract situations of sex with men, even though you have absolutely no desire to sleep with men in real life. Actual attraction. When you fantasize about men, it is because you're attracted to their bodies or specific men, or the idea of having sex with men. You imagine qualities of their body, and you like the idea of what you're imagining. If you think about the fantasy later that day, you might feel like it's embarrassing, but you also feel like it's sexy. Compulsory heterosexuality. When you fantasize about men, it is mostly just enacting a kind of narrative, more focused on movement than features. The men in your fantasies might be faceless or plain featured, or their bodies might symbolize some emotion. You don't like the idea of what you're imagining. You might not even be in the fantasy, but instead another faceless woman might be. You might even imagine yourself as the man. The narrative follows the sexual script, but the details are more vague and abstract, and you might even shift and change the fantasy. If you think about it later that day, you might feel vaguely nauseated or uncomfortable, or feel invalidated and wrong. Yeah. Me. It's really difficult to unroot compulsory heterosexuality. My simplest advice on getting through it is this: even if you are attracted to men, you do not need to date them if you don't want to. If you only want to date other women, then you have the right to that. The rest is less important than the simple reality of what you want right now. You might be a lesbian if TLDR. You wish you were a lesbian so you could escape the discomfort of dating men. Men are okay in theory, but terrible in practice. You feel like you could live with a woman in a romantic way, even if you can't imagine doing anything sexual with a woman. You feel like you could enjoy sexual interaction with a woman, even if you can't imagine having romantic feelings for a woman. You lose interest in a man as soon as they seem interested in you. Very common. You find yourself trying to be romantically or sexually appealing to men, even if you're not interested in them. As a child, you always thought you'd either never get married or platonically marry a friend. I'm trying to up my voice just a tad, because I feel like I need to be louder, because I can't breathe. I don't know. Can't imagine having a happy or fulfilling future with a man. You feel like you're performing your attraction to men for yourself and or other people. You expect relationships with men to be unfulfilling by default. You like the idea of men being attracted to you, but you dislike the idea of being attracted to men. Let's read that one again. You like the idea of men being attracted to you, but you dislike the idea of being attracted to men. Sit on that one. You dislike being attracted to men in general. You only notice the attractiveness of a man when someone else points it out. You think your feelings for women don't count, or that all women have feelings like that, but that they're not valid because you think it's a phase everyone goes through. You don't want to date men, but you feel like you have to. You think that because you could survive dating, marrying, or having sex with a man, you're attracted to men. Hint, you don't have to settle for just surviving. You think it's objective and uncontested that almost all women are way more attractive than most men. The men in your fantasies are faceless or symbolize an emotion. You don't like fantasizing about men. After fantasizing about men, you feel uncomfortable or wrong. When fantasizing about men you're not really into, the man in your fantasy or the fantasy itself, you imagine another woman in place of yourself, or imagine that you are the man in the fantasy. Lesbian or gay feels like the label for you, but you still doubt yourself for whatever reason. You're only attracted to fictional men, celebrities, or men that are completely unattainable. I hate your teacher. Gay men in established relationships. Basically, you only like men if it's impossible for them to like you back. Very common. prefer/are exclusively attracted to feminine men, i.e. men that wear traditionally feminine clothing, have traditionally feminine behaviors or appearances, and like traditionally feminine things. Basically, you only like men if they're womanly enough. You're repulsed by the dynamics in most all real-life male-female relationships you've seen and are regularly feeling like maybe it worked for them, but I never want my relationship to be like that. I'm gonna stop here. Maybe do a part 3 because it feels hard to breathe. I don't know. I had anxiety this morning, so it could be that. And also like could just be a heavy topic for me. It could be giving me a lot of anxiety. I recognize that, but also there's some truth bombs in there for me. I hope everybody has a great day. And I hope that nobody had a final today, like I did. It wasn't like a real final though. It's a final period. Alright. I'm gonna go make hello dollies.